Hey,
Robert.
how are you, man?
Just enjoying a
Cheers to
cup of
that.
Joe. Cup of Joe with a good fella. I'd like to welcome everyone into the first episode of a new program here. Uh, Cups of Joe with a fella. Um, Today we got Rob. Guy's a good guy. And we're just gonna talk through some league stuff here. We're gonna talk through some trades that went down. We're gonna talk through a couple fellas that are staring down the barrel of 2-12. And we're going to talk the future of this league. Rob, how are we?
First of all, we're great. Thank you for asking. So happy to be sharing my Saturday with you. I think this is something we could really, look forward to. Somebody's got to do the content. And while all the fellas are enjoying their Korean BBQ, we're out here hitting the grindstone. And there's so much to talk about. Last week, it was all about predictable revenue. This week, I'm going to open it up. You've already said it, but this week is about staring down the barrel, and I just can't wait to get into it with you.
It's so important to understand when you're actually staring down the barrel, and I think there's a lot of fellas that haven't come to that realization yet. So I'd like to just pull up the standings here, if you could do so yourself, and I kind of just want to talk through some of these fellas that are, as you would say, staring down the barrel.
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, we've got a three-headed monster in Big Boss Burns, the local Zach Taylor fan club. And go ahead. All three fantastic guys. And right before we hopped on, we didn't even talk about the trade prior to getting in here because we wanted, honest, raw reactions.
Yep,
Those two bottom teams executed the deal. I believe it was Najee Harris
yep,
and Jacoby Myers for Amari Cooper.
yep. What are your thoughts on that? Raw
So,
reactions.
raw reaction, Amari Cooper was in my inbox last night. He was in my inbox. Dan and I went toe to toe. It was magic. Especially a week before, if you told me I was getting thrown out of his office and then a week later I'm considered a trusted business partner, all this is hoopla, but I I mean, I've got no problem with the deal for both sides. I think Burns is like he's proving to be a continued sharp.
Yep.
The guy, let's just talk about Kyler Murray, the pickup earlier in the week. What are your thoughts?
Well, listen, Pat and myself, we play in a high stakes fantasy league together, $1 million prize pool. We also picked up Kyler Murray. Fab system,
Yeah.
$1,000 budget. We bid 201 out of a
Wow.
thousand. We only had 575 left. Not a single other person bid. So an uncontested $200 bid. We feel good about having him. Did we spend a little too much? Yeah. Burns scooped him up. I think I don't even know what he paid. It had to have been low.
Nothing. Not a dollar.
Not a
Cleared
dollar.
waivers.
Cleared
Yeah.
waivers. Burns picked him up. I mean, it's a guy that we're probably going to have to wait a little bit to see produce. I'm not sure Burns is going to make it there. As you mentioned, he's staring down the barrel. Um, but it just shows you the type of guy he is. He's never going to quit. He's never going to give up. He's never going to back down. And he's swinging deals on a Saturday while some people are snoozing.
I mean, it's remarkable what he's been able to do. Pull in new toys, trade new toys. He's got a nice four-headed monster with those four wideouts he's got.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his team now. He's got Rahamon's an ex Groove Bug Lane baby jumper.
Yeah.
And he's currently really doesn't have an RB2. He's rolling out the Deontay Foreman right now with Roshan's brain just absolutely melted. Guy could be fully Texas toast. He hasn't been able to practice in 2 weeks since taking that hit. Like I know someone owns him in this league, but do you think that
Someone not only owns him, someone spent his entire 401k on him.
someone dumped their 401k on Roshan Johnson and he might not play a snap this year? So maybe it works out with Burns, but he's still got some holes to fill. But for a guy that lost two of his early picks, one being a first rounder, he's really turned this roster around and he might be able to make a little run here.
I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Nobody wants the Sacco, and this guy, I think he's going to do a good job at not winning the Sacco.
funny you say that. You bring up the Sacco. Me and Jay were actually looking at some past Saccos. It actually turns out the last 3 years we've had a tie for last place, and the Sacco was awarded by tiebreaker. And it might be turning that way this year. If we go back to last year, Tony and John both finished 3-11, and John sneaked
Wow.
by and didn't win the Sacco based on a tiebreaker because he beat Tony during the regular season.
Would you look at? I mean, that's the beauty in this league. You can have a rebuild, and now we look at the top of the standings. You got the Bell Cows and the Mississippi River.
Yep. And then if
I
you go
mean,
back 2 years, same scenario. Oz and Eli, both 2 and
mm.
12. Oz, I guess, somehow squeaked by, avoided the Sacco on a tiebreaker, and it went to Eli.
And look what Oz did the year after his Sacco. He went
Exactly. And then
all
if
the
you
way
go
to the
back
trophy.
one more year to 2020, same exact thing here. You got the regular season standings. D-Rock and Dan tied, both 3 and 10. D-Rock falls to Sacco. Dan gets by in a tiebreaker. So it looks like we're headed that way again this year with three guys staring down the barrel of 2 and 12. So it might be another year of a couple guys tied for Sacco and one guy getting it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's safe to say that I provided another government handout,
Yeah.
and the local Zach Taylor fan club he heard the term staring down the barrel so much so that he went beyond the stretch of imagination to do anything possible to take a good friend. Some might even say one of the one of the best friends he's got. We've been friends since first grade. Took me behind the barnyard door and shot me right in the head.
Yeah, I apologize for burying the lead. Clearly, this was the most important thing and the reason we came on this show. So I think everyone in the league wants to understand how and why this happened, right? I know, you and Oz, you spend a lot of time talking, DMs, Discord calls, probably phone calls, maybe even meeting up, and we don't even know about this. So when this trade went down, people were shocked, but surprised, no. So take us through how this happened, who made initial contact, how this trade went about. Was there a lot of negotiations? And then ultimately, who sent the trade and who accepted it?
That's always the question everybody wants to know: who sent it? We're gonna answer everything, and we're trying to gonna try to be as thorough as humanly possible. Um, Oz and I think pretty much since like the beginning of the entire season, like it's picked up like over the last 3, 4 weeks, but we pretty much speak every day regularly, like 9 a.m., maybe even a little earlier, and we just go in circles.
Yep.
It's just a good old classic case. It's like you can't live with the guy, but you can't live without him. I think we complement each other really well. Like I'm so mean to him and he's so mean to me and we're so supportive of one another. And he I don't even know, man. This is raw. This is raw cup of Joe, all
Cup of
that
Joe.
stuff.
It's okay.
I
You're
mean,
safe.
he he's a master salesman, man. He gets these nice shiny toys and he talks about them in great detail and he makes you want these toys, you know?
hmm
Like, oh my God, Brees Hall is the best player in the league.
But let me back up. Is that like so? How did these like? Obviously, you guys talk every day, right? But did
Mhm.
he reach out and say he was interested in Darrell Leak and Adams, or were you like, I need Brees Hall? Because I know you told me in private you were looking for players on buys, you were looking to accumulate said
Yeah,
players. So
yeah.
who really kind of sparked the flint? Who started this?
That's a really good question because majority of the season he's been, very quick to provide me information with the players that he acquired in the deal were toast
Yep.
and that he was worried about me and he wanted to help me and numerous times that he was worried about me. His words, he's told me that he views me as a contender and he thinks that this some of the things that would make my team even better. So, I mean, I've seen enough with Derrick Henry and I've seen enough with Devontae. Sure, are they massively big names? Are they first and second round picks? Are they guys that can get absolutely spam and fed the ball on any given occasion? I wasn't born yesterday. I knew
Mhm.
what I was selling in that. But I'm also reading and watching the scenarios. So splitting a 50% snap share with Taji Spears, who looks really great. And in that last game, um, they didn't bring Derrick Henry in to punch it in at the end of the game when it was a close game. I pay attention to that
You
stuff,
panicked.
essentially. Some of the numbers just aren't good. And then you've got Tannehill, who's hurt,
Yep.
Malik Willis, who's brutal. The only hope that this thing smashes for us is if they just run Wildcat with Darrell. But I
Doesn't
think
seem
it's no
likely.
secret. What do you mean?
It does. No, I'm saying I don't think they're gonna run Wildcat with Henry. It doesn't seem likely. I think, you know, everything you're saying is true, and Henry
Yeah.
is, it might be the year that it's finally catching up to him. I know
Hmm.
it's that old adage. He's getting older. He's over the hill. 30, 40. He's starting to, think about his AARP. But, you might have gotten off at the right time.
Yeah. I mean, do I miss waking up and seeing him on my roster? Absolutely. But call me crazy. Brees Hall, not only did I buy Brees Hall, but I bought into the Jets. I think that, call me crazy. I think we're looking at a playoff team.
Okay.
I think we're looking at a playoff team. That defense is so good, and Zach Wilson is improving. And Garrett Wilson, he's like a better predictable revenue guy. Like he can definitely get you 10 points, but he might even like by the end of the season, I think he could be better than Devontae Adams. It's a stretch. It's a stretch. There's a lot of bonus upside for Oz with DeVinky. He
Mhm.
could get traded.
Yep.
They've awoken the beast. You know, you've got him in the media this week. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. I don't want to just win the games. I want to be a part of the team, et cetera,
Mhm.
et cetera. So is it possible he puts up 20 to 30 points and I'm sitting on Sunday by myself with him not producing for my club? We knew this stuff going in.
Okay.
I-
What I want to ask you though is, and I appreciate all the insight there, but I really want to know, and I think the league wants to know, not about the players, how you value them, their skills. We want to know, how the sausage is made. How did this trade really go down? What happened in that chat? The words we're never gonna hear, the text we're never gonna see. Can you let the people know really what happened in there? And did someone, actually get bent over a barrel, or did you hold your own in there? Take us through it.
I think I held my own. I mean, at a certain point, this became the deal that I wanted.
Okay.
Um,
You wanted.
yeah, yeah. I
So
wanted
you
Brees Hall
started.
for
So did you? So did you? Were you driving this bus? Were you throwing names out there, bouncing them off him? Were you
it
dictating where
was
this was gonna go, or was this an Oz vehicle?
it was mutual. It was always like there was never really any other players on my team that were going to be included.
I mean,
Like
a 3 for 3. It's pretty big. Usually Oz will come in, he's trying to get one guy, two guys, and then he'll start slipping in these other guys, make it bigger. Is that how this one went down as well? Like because at 3 for 3 with these
so
bigger names, it's a big trade. How did Kareem Hunt get involved, and how did Jerry Jury get involved?
Jerry. So interestingly enough, this trade was proposed more than 10 times.
This exact trade.
Like maybe even more.
By proposed,
On
you
my
mean
end
it was in inboxes.
in his inbox.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And there became a point in time where he was saying stuff like, see, these are the DMs you're going to hear about. This is about the extent of it. But
Listen,
there was a
only
point
on
in time
only
where he
on
says,
Cups of Joe are you gonna get this type of inside information.
that's it. That's it. But he said, just send the fucking trade already so I could just decline the fucking shit out of it. Like, it was a unique approach by him where he said that numerous times. And then he follows it up with, you take all the fun out of it. And like,
Ugh.
it's like, you know, what's his angle here? Like this whole time he's saying such poor things about the stocks that he's buying, and then now he's jumping for joy, singing and dancing like Mary Poppins over here. It just
So was this a similar scenario where you sent it over and then he just accepted it, or was this you guys were in a call and you finally just both came to your senses and then one guy said send it over?
There was the amount of times the word "send it over" was said was in the 30s, maybe even 40s. That's like if you're getting in the room with us, classic line: "Send it over, send it over, send it over." I don't know what it is, but I kept sending it over. It kept getting rejected, and then of course, you have to have trusted business partners.
Right, of course.
There were people where I talked to. I probably got like 10 opinions on this deal, and I'd say about 20% said go for it. The others were still attached to the big
10
names I was telling.
opinions,
Mhm.
and I I don't recall getting a DM, so I
I
guess I
know.
wasn't one of the 10, huh?
It's crazy.
You think you
Like
know a fella.
it, and I don't want you to take that personally. It's like sometimes like I don't want to bring you into the mud with me when it's
Right.
like I'm just so focused on what I'm doing and maybe I don't want to hear the hard truth from you.
Were these outside of the league sources you consulted? In league sources?
It was a 50-50 split, and 10 might not be the exact number, but there was a lot of people I asked.
Wow.
You think you know a fella, man.
Yeah, no. So please talk us through specifically the Jerry Judy and the Kareem Hunt side of it, because I feel like those, obviously those weren't the headliners, but they have people up in arms.
Mhm. So when you look at my club, it was a five-headed wideout monster, if you will. Um, Jerry, obviously, we know his upside. He was a first-round pick, but there's a lot of headaches involved with that. He's another bonus upside guy that Oz got in the deal. He could get traded to a contender and be in a much better scenario. Um, I was just at the point where I felt comfortable with the wideouts that I had: Mike Evans, Nico Collins, now Garrett Wilson, and Michael Tamoose. So I'm not sure Jerry was ever going to be in the plans. I tried trading him like to a ton of people. So just kind of like an alarm sound. Not if, but when Oz steps into your DMs and tries to sell you Jerry Judy after he maybe has a 13-point game, the game we've all been looking for, buyer beware. The amount of times I told, um, I was told I'm not a Jerry Judy guy.
Mhm.
It's probably a league consensus. Nobody wanted Jerry Judy from me. I tried just about everybody except for John and Greg, maybe. Yeah, and
Or me.
obviously I'm not gonna stump the chump with you. You know,
I wouldn't
I see
huddle.
what you're saying to Jerry on Twitter. I see what you're saying.
Oh yeah, listen. I mean, he he's a tough one. He's a tough one. He's talented. He's got so much talent. He plays on a dumpster fire team with a terrible quarterback. I mean, it could turn around. He could get traded. Who knows? Uh, it's just I hate to see a fella that you he was yours and you just sold him. I mean, now I'm looking at your lineup here. I got it up on the screen for everyone to see. I mean, you're starting Kareem
Uh-uh.
Hunt. Just kind of in terms of Kareem Hunt, did he practice today? I know he hadn't practiced yesterday, and then I know they signed a player from their practice squad, Deion Jackson. Um, so that can't be a good sign for Hunt, I would imagine. I'm looking for some news here. As of Friday, listed questionable. He did return to practice Thursday. That's good. Are you worried about what your team looks like now, specifically this week, with Garrett, Brees, and Dalvin Cook on bye, along with Nico and the Cowboys DST? And like from a long-term perspective, do you think your team got better here?
I stared down the barrel in a different approach. I looked at the 10-2 record, saw what I liked, said, okay, if there's ever a chance to lose, you could do it now because even if I didn't do the trade, I still wasn't going to have Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
So my chances were low to begin with from my perspective. and I wasn't going to have Nico and the defense, yada, yada, yada. So I decided to load up on Breesy Boy and Garrett, and then I skipped the DaVinci buy that I would have faced later on in the year.
Yep.
So I kind of just extradited the process.
Mhm.
It was a sharp play. Obviously, we're going to find out. Time will tell. But I don't know that my team got worse or better. I think that there's a lot of upside to be had in Brees. I think this guy is a walking 30 burger. And I think Garrett W. as well
Breeze.
can be a 15 plus points per game kind of guy. And if you look at it, like that's all you need. You just need 10s and 15s all over the place on your
Yep.
roster. It's not like I brought on anybody that's a walking six like Jerry. Obviously, I think there's hope for Jerry, but I don't know. I think I shored up my positions.
So I'm just moving a week here because I want to see what your lineup would look like
Mm-hmm.
going forward. So I got the next
Mm-hmm.
week pulled up. Thank you for having your lineup properly set for the following week. It's definitely appreciated when owners do this. So we're looking at the roster. Patty Mahomes at the top. Mostert,
Mm-hmm.
you're just gonna ride that stud till the wheels fall off. Brees, Evans, Garrett Wilson, Evan Ingram, Michael Tamus, Nico Collins, Cowboys D, and Jake Moody. Uh,
Moody's gonna be gone. I
Mo-
don't want to associate him with my team, but he's that's
so
another
Tamus
yeah
is seems like he's gonna be a mainstay in the flex, and Kareem
yeah.
Hunt's a depth play.
And so is JMO. We like our depth. Zeke
I'm
boy,
I know I usually don't do this type of thing in public, but I'm interested in Jamison Williams, and I'll trade for him live on air.
can you just pull up his profile page
Yeah, no
real
problem.
quick for the fellas at home?
Yep, got it pulled up. Anything I should be
I
looking for in
believe it
particular?
says 3 teams interested. I believe you might
Yep,
see that.
I'm one of them.
So there's a market for Jameson. It's just people want to see a little more.
I don't need to
Um,
see anything else. I'm good.
yeah.
I'll buy on just the underlying numbers and the research I did. I'll buy.
Well, thank you for the boost in his stock on our first episode together. I got him for 35 measly bucks. He's been like, he's a valuable trade token for me, and he
Mhm.
could end up being like somebody I could count on, and then I could go trade another asset. Like with me, like that's the thing. Like, yes, I have 90% plus chance to be in the playoffs, but everybody's pretty much available at all times. For me, he like trading, getting new toys. Sometimes you got to just shake things up around the clubhouse,
Right.
and that's kind of the overarching theme here. But
Understood.
JMO stays at least on your like. I know you're always not in the market of breaking even, so
Mhm.
we could talk. We could talk offline.
Okay. Okay. Um. Awesome. Well, anything else you want to touch on here, Rob? Anything we want to look forward to? Any matchup in particular? Uh, if you would like to
I mean,
highlight.
if I could squeak through a win versus Tony, and keep in mind not disrespecting my opponent ever, um, but it'd be cool if I could go 1-1 this week. I don't know if I could do it, but tune in to find out. I could be really miserable tomorrow, or I could be really happy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the matchup here. Obviously, ETN putting up 21 on a Thursday is not. It's tough. It's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah.
But you got a decent showing out of Tamoose. 7 from Ingram. You're not gonna cry about it.
Nope.
You're not dead here. Tony, he's got an interesting team this week. He's got a lot of
Should we dive
upside.
into it?
I,
Yeah.
I've got it pulled up here. I mean, Rashad White, I'm not a fan. I really wouldn't expect much out of him. He's got the Jordan Love Christian Watson stack this week against Denver.
Mm-hmm.
That could, I hate to say it,
That could sink me.
yeah. I mean, that could be 60 points combined if it hits how it could possibly hit.
Whoa.
I'm just saying.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Denver's defense is atrocious. Christian Watson's been begging for a big game. And
Mm-hmm.
if they connect on a deep ball or two, I mean, who's to say Christian Watson doesn't put up a buck 52 tutties? I, I I hate to say it. And then Rashi Rice, I've been liking what I've been seeing out of him.
Oh yeah.
That could be an absolute shootout against the Chargers. The Chargers are so lost. I hate them so much. Uh, they're just a pathetic franchise, and they can't cover anyone. You'd think their defense would be good. Rashee Rice should be more involved. He's got Kelsey. Pittman's been looking great with Gardner, and then you got Javante.
Going
I mean,
against
is it
going against
Jalil's
my defense
backfield?
though.
Is it his backfield? Who knows? Jake Elliott. I mean, the more I look at this team, like I don't see how you are gonna win this week. And it's not because I don't like the team that you have put together. It's just what you have out on the field this week. Like
Yeah, of
obviously,
course,
I
of
mean you're
course.
rolling out Zeke, you're rolling out JMO, you're rolling out Kareem Hunt. Like
The utmost like boom bust plays. Like
I don't
if
even
I
know
get
if
my
they're. I
one
don't think they're boom or bust. Like I don't see
if
the
I get my
upside in
one
Zeke.
touchdown,
Like I don't see the upside in Kareem Hunt. Like I'm sorry. It's just like I don't
would
see the boom
yeah,
possibility. Like what's the boom possibility?
10 points out of each player,
Yeah.
each mid player.
I think you're
And
just
then
giggled.
should I
Honestly,
just like
you
not
sh-
set a lineup this week?
you should probably just try to trade for a couple more guys on buy and just
Go all in with it.
go all in with it, fella.
Okay. It's not a bad idea.
If you can
I
somehow get
do
one win, that's a win.
I do also have another trade in the hopper,
Really.
but it's a long stretch. It's a long stretch. It's
In
with
the hopper or
not in my inbox. It's a verbal. It's a verbal.
yeah, I'm just gonna pull up my matchup with Derek here just to talk about that for a second. Obviously Thursday night was a little rough for me. I'm gonna be honest. Um, I had work the next day. Thursday night, I was in the city. The
Uh,
next day, I watched.
American
I
hero.
watched the first half. It was okay. He had Jags D, I had Saints D. He had the Jags kicker and Christian Kirk. So I was feeling pretty good. And then the moment that Derek Carr threw that pick six, I just went to sleep. I just turned off everything, went to bed. I was so upset. It was so bad. And then I wake up to find out that Christian Kirk takes a 10-yard like check down route, 45 yards for a tutty. So
And did
it,
you also see that should have been a false start on the offense?
I did see that on Twitter later. They
Mm-hmm.
haven't really been calling that a lot. They've been letting those tackles just jump. I don't know what's going on in the league this year, but they've been letting that happen like in every game. It's very odd. Apparently they're allowed to go a little bit earlier, but
Yeah.
I mean some of them are just like the guys are already up and like moving around.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I noticed it in real time, and
really.
nonetheless, yeah.
I
When
mean,
I
listen, if
saw it,
you can't tackle a fella on a 10-yard, like, if you let him go 45 yards, tip the cap to Derek's guy. Like,
you just got to
that's a
tip the
good
cap.
play. I'll tip my cap. But I think the real storyline here is Christian Kirk the wide receiver one here? And we kind of all just
Mm.
bought into the hype a la Jay a little more than others on the Calvin Ridley side.
I'm loving what I'm seeing in Christian Kirk. I mean, the guy's been a
Did Burns
stud.
lose that trade?
What was even the trade?
So that was
Oof.
Yeah, that was the Waddle, Stafford, Jalen. So Burns gave up Jalen
Oof.
Hurts and Christian Kirk for Stafford and Waddle. It's looking like that trade was a loss for Pat.
I mean, I love Burns on Twitter. I see him hyping. I went through his likes, and I see him liking like all this Matt Stafford content, like trying to convince himself into like the stock that he owns. Burns, I don't mean to scud you. I'm just here to provide content. But I absolutely love Waddle for you. I think he's incrementally getting better and better and better, and he's
Mhm.
going to give you the return on investment. So I don't think it's a bad trade, but I think Christian Kirk is extremely underrated. That's an $80 million man right there.
Yep. But are we seeing a changing of the guard here with Kirk soaking up all the targets and Calvin Ridley finding himself with what do you have, one catch on I'm not sure the targets, but
I don't know what's going on over there. I mean,
is that a
that's
buy
a
low
really good team.
opportunity or is that something we stay away from? I know it's tough, obviously, you know. when it's a player on Jay's roster.
Yeah,
It's not easy to get a fella off that fella.
yeah.
Um, what are your thoughts on that?
If it makes his team better, he's gonna do it. That's the motto over there at Jay's
What
Road to
would you
500.
pay for Calvin Ridley at this point after what we've seen through basically
Me
6 straight
personally,
weeks? Yeah.
me personally, I simply wouldn't even welcome the opportunity just because I've got Evan Ingram, and I don't want to double down on that offense.
Okay.
I know it's crazy coming from the guy that has two Jets on his team,
Mhm.
um, but I guess if we're to comp it out, like I'm not giving him Nico Collins, I wouldn't give him Mike Evans, I wouldn't even give him Michael Tamoose. But it's kind of in that Michael Tamoose territory, like a solid. I don't know. I don't know, man.
I think the problem is obviously, you know, he's a guy Jay invested a lot into, and I think it's just someone he's gonna have to ride the ship with.
Yeah, and he
He's not.
said that. He
He doesn't
said
want
that.
to take a loss on this fella,
Yeah,
so I think it's just something he's gonna have to hold the bag on there.
and it's important. You pick your team. These are your guys. You pick who's your clubhouse guys, and clearly Ridley is his. So I didn't mean to offend him by saying I wouldn't pay any of my guys, but that's just you asked, and when I think that's kind of how I look at it. But there's a market for Ridley.
Okay. Before we close out the show here, I kind of just want to get your opinion on, um, you know, where we're headed as a league. Uh, if you like the changes we've made this year in terms of median scoring, uh, obviously, it's tough to get rules passed sometimes in this league. We've got a lot of, quote unquote dinos,
Mhm.
cavemen, things of that nature. Do you think we're heading in the right direction here, and are you happy with the league and the changes we've made? Most importantly, obviously, median scoring.
I can't see anything that I have to complain about. Um, if it was like for us in baseball, like as soon as a guy's game is done, we can drop him, get
That
him the
would be
fuck off our
nice.
teams.
Yep.
I don't know if ESPN allows that, but I think that would be good. Median scoring gives you so much more excitement, more skin in the game. Um, I don't know why we don't do PPR, full point PPR. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm in another league that's full point, and I really like it. I think there was a time over the last maybe like 2 3 year like 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago, where like it was tough because there was a lot of those players like a Danny Woodhead, a Sproles,
Mm,
a James White, where like you could get those guys were so valuable, and they were just living off just checkdowns, like little catches,
yeah.
and it was difficult because obviously the wideouts were getting a lot more, and I think the reason that we went the PPR route in the first place is because it was trying to balance out that running backs were so much more valuable than wide receivers back in the day, mostly because uh, obviously it was a different time, right? We had so many more bell cow backs, grinders, three down workhorses, the Marshawn Lynches, the Adrian Petersons, the all those guys that were just getting fed every touch, played every down, would score all the touchdowns. Like every year, it was the first round was not 80-90% running backs. So I think PPR was kind of to bridge that gap to bring the wide receivers closer in value to those just absolute workhorses. Like if you weren't getting a top five, top pick, you weren't getting like one of those absolute studs that was going to score 25 rushing touchdowns. Like you were kind of screwed. Like the wideouts just didn't do enough without getting rewarded for their receptions. But I think
Mm,
now the NFL is completely different where it's like it's built around the wideouts, it's built around the quarterbacks, the receptions. So, and there's obviously way less three down workhorses. Like you've got McCaffrey, you've got like what else do you even have? Like who plays every down at running back? Like who's a true workhorse anymore? Like even in the NFL, I mean, it's tough. So I think I would have said yes a few, years ago, but like I kind of feel like it's a nice balance right now with how much wide receivers mean, and I think just based on the first round this year alone, it was kind of a split. Running backs, wideouts. The top five had two running backs, two wideouts. Like I think we're in a good place. I don't know.
Yeah, my only thing to just add is it just makes it easier to to count. Like you're watching a game, you see, okay, my guy has
Yeah,
2 receptions. That's 2 points. It's not half of that. I don't need to
yeah,
think too hard. So it's just kind of like easier on the brain, I guess.
sure. I mean, I'm not opposed to making it easier on your brain, Rob, and I don't think anyone else in the
Yeah,
league would be.
we all know it's so important to take care of your brain.
It's so important, so
Do
important.
we have do we have any sponsors?
Um, I don't know. Do we?
We get Should we get the big brain GIF up?
Sure. I mean, you want me to pull up a GIF?
Yeah, man.
I don't even know how to. Oh, you just want the picture?
Yeah. I'm not even going to be able to see it, so hopefully the fellas at home can appreciate it.
I can't get it up properly. Well, there it is.
All right, that's good enough, I'm sure.
Um, I think that's all we got, Rob. Anything else you
Yeah, I
want
mean,
would like to add?
after talking about it, I'm really staring down the barrel, man, and I'm it's crazy. Like it's going to come down to two kickers. Well, it's not, but it is. Like at least from a schedule perspective, like I'm going. He's got Jake Elliott topping things off on Sunday night versus my Raheem, and then maybe I get some magic out of Jake Moody, get
Is
some
that the
RB
only
one
guys you have
numbers.
on Monday? You have Jake Moody. Does he have anyone?
Jake Moody, yeah,
Just you?
he had he had Kirk Cousins, but he's not going to start Kirk Cousins against the Niners, where the Jordan Love play came
Can you just talk us through the Jake Moody pickup? I
in.
mean,
I'm so glad you asked. So glad you asked. Um, they laughed when I started the Cowboys against the Chargers
yeah.
after getting absolutely embarrassed by the 49ers on a primetime game. So I said, what the fuck? Like, these guys are, it's the Cowboys. They're one of the best defenses. There's no way they're going to get embarrassed
I mean,
twice
they
again.
only scored six, Rob. Let's like pump the brakes here, as if you had like
Yeah.
a big brain play here. They
Well,
scored
I mean,
six.
but there's, they did score
They scored
six.
six.
It's not a big brain play. But I was staring down the barrel of losing to Burns that week, and it was frightening.
You never really
And
were. It
the
was
gallery said
can
otherwise.
yeah, but just be honest with the group. You were never worried at all you were gonna lose to Burns, were you?
I swear to God, I was scared.
When?
I th- Going into it, I thought that
Going into it,
CD
but
and
like after like an hour or two in, like when the guy had like 32 points through like 8 p.m. on Sunday, like he couldn't have been concerned.
I mean, as a former CD Lamb owner, I've got the utmost respect for the fella. So I thought that he could have one of those games. But staying on track here, staying on track. Jake Moody as well. It's a theory play. He was drafted in the third round. He missed 2 field goals, very pivotal field goals, and essentially cost them the game to lose to the Cleveland Browns. So a guy like him, he's a young rookie. Yeah, he's a kicker, but you rest assured that dude's been kicking. He's been kicking with a passion in practice this past
So
week.
it's a passion play,
It's a passion theory play, and it's a fuck you Oz play. Obviously,
and you're not even playing Oz.
no. But we all know Oz was going to rebrand his team after Jake Moody, the Jake Moody's Goblin, Brain Goblin Gangbangers or whatever.
Mhm.
And then, you know, he lost a lot of cash with Jake Moody. And so it's the utmost theory play.
Okay.
But, we're going to get our guy back. We might even add him right now, just in case this podcast gets out early and somebody says, I need Brandon Aubrey.
Yeah, you got a
Yes.
bench spot here. What are we doing? Why don't
Yeah.
fill that out?
Yeah. Brandon's in the team, hot off the press.
Wow, Brandon's back with the club. Wow, Oz with the Jets D pickup as well while we were sleeping.
Oh my God. Against
They're on
against
bye.
the Giants. Wow,
Yep.
he dropped Kendrick Bourne. This is breaking stuff, man.
Kendrick Bourne has been dropped. Let's take a look at Oz's team here.
Oh, it's looking like a wagon next week.
Who's he playing next week? You?
Oh yeah. This is putting it to the test, man. Yeah, yep, yep.
Oh, let's take a look at week 8 here. So he's gonna have the Jets D slotted in. Deontay Johnson's gonna be back. Oh, you might get, dude. You're staring down the barrel more than you think, brother.
I mean, yeah, it's
You could
flashy
be
big
walking
names.
into Groove Bug Lane week 10,
I got Dan
staring.
the week in the middle,
Okay, so it's this week's Tony. Then you got Oz.
and I'm not underestimating Dan by any means of the
You
stretch of
got,
imagination.
all right. You've got Tony, Oz, Dan, and then week 10 back behind Funtime Junction at Groove Bug Lane. You got me.
With no Mahomes and no Mostert,
I got no AJ Brown, if that makes you feel better.
you won't shed a tear.
I won't shed a tear. But
And
you could be staring down the barrel of 10 and 8. No,
we
facing
might have
me, you could be
we
staring down the barrel of 10 and 10.
no way,
10.
no
You
way.
could be 10 and 10 staring down the fucking barrel.
I think if you still look at my team though, like look at the law of averages, week 8. This team
I don't care
averages a
about
100.
law and averages. You're going to go 0-2 to Tony, right? Next week is Oz's Super Bowl. He's going to do everything he can to just destroy you. That's 0-4. So now you're going to be
Hold on,
not
hold
you're
on,
going to be
hold on. 1-1, 1-1.
this week or next
Give me
week.
the next week. Give me the benefit
You're
of the
getting
doubt.
0-2 this week. Fair?
Maybe,
We're going to call it an
maybe.
0-2. We're going to
We'll
call
call
this
it a no too.
honestly, we're going to call this a 1. Actually no. Yeah, this week you're getting 0-2 and 0-2, whatever. Next week you'll go 1-1 with Oz. You'll squeak it out. You guys are going to both score some points. So that would be 3-1. So you're going to be 10-6. Then I hate to say it, Dan's gonna 2-0 you.
No, 11-5. Dan's gonna mollywop me, huh?
No, oh, because you're 10-2. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong guy. Yeah, so you're gonna be 11-5. Dan's gonna just mollywop, giggle whop you, and you're gonna be 11-7, and you're gonna be staring down the barrel of 11-9.
I might have blown my
And you
season
11-9 at that point in the season, like you're down at the cusp, like you're like just you're like
fighting.
6, 7 seed, like praying, hoping.
I might have blown it for some content, man.
You sold your soul for content, and we appreciate it.
I'm happy to a certain extent. I'm happy to provide laughs. Um, I don't know. There's not much else to say, man. What time will tell. Time will tell.
Time will tell, as our good friend Jared would say. But Rob, I think that's gonna wrap it for us. It's a great show. Appreciate sharing a cup of Joe with you and talking league business. It's gonna be a great, great week 7, right? It's week 7. Week 7. A lot of implications on the line. Playoff spots, muck, sacco spots. So yeah, good luck to you, Rob. Good luck to the league, and have a great weekend, everyone.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. Good luck.